Oh, the streets are cold and grey, but the fire in our hearts won't stray from the pitch where dreams collide. We'll stand together side by side. Oh, when the Spurs go marching in, when the Spurs go marching in, I wanna be there in that number. Oh, when the Spurs go marching in, from the north to Wembley's light, under stars we own the night, with every cheer and every song. We've been here all along. No one can take this from our soul. We're a part of something whole. Oh, when the Spurs go marching in, when the Spurs go marching in, I wanna be.
Hello, welcome back to Project Spurs. Got a big packed edition today. In today's episode, we're going to look back at the Champions League draw. Scott Munn has talked about his time at the club. We'll look at Mauricio Pochettino and Roberto De Zerbi's latest links to the club. And of course, the Fulham preview. Obviously joining me tonight, Callum, Phil and Joseph. Phil, starting with you. You're in a cafe in Germany because your poor wife is listening to us from the hospital. Hopefully she is watching us on Project Spurs. Of course she is, but we hope she's okay. Phil, how are you?
Yeah, I'm okay. I mean, my wife can't hear in one ear at the moment. So I've left her in with the doctor at the moment and come over here to do this pod. So, yeah, I hope she forgives me. We actually had a romantic night plan for tonight. So let's see how that goes. But
well,
she's doing okay. I'm sure she's doing fine.
The romantic night is with us now, isn't it? So
I know.
The romantic night is with us. So you can't go much better than Callum, Eggboy, Joseph, and of course me. Callum, you've had a long day. It's been a long day for you, my friend. How are you?
Yeah, could have been better. Realised why I'm not a fan of East London. Let's put it that way. Been egged, been called some profanities. But all a day's work. All a day's work, mate. So let's talk Spurs and hopefully a more positive outlook for the end of the week and the weekend for us.
It ain't going to be much more positive for you because it is talking Tottenham. The only good positive aspect is people won't know this by watching this, but when we stream out, it goes to various different platforms, Twitter, etc. And for weeks now, it hasn't been working. So we've had to physically share it. I am delighted to say it actually is working properly this time. So StreamYard, give you a round of applause. You have fixed the issue, which means we don't have to keep trying to tweet about it every 30 seconds. But Joseph, you've been to the gym, you've had a nap, and now you're ready.
Oh, mate, I needed that nap. I needed that nap. Yeah, you know what? It's been a nice week because I've switched off from Tottenham. Maybe not the best thing to say on a Tottenham podcast, but it's been a nice week to kind of switch off from it for a little bit and kind of realise that life isn't all about football. But then it gets to the weekend, and then you're thinking, you know what? I really want to talk about Tottenham and hope that we can get a result. So excited to get into kind of what's been going on over this last week. Again, switching off for a bit was actually quite therapeutic, but we're always going to come back to it. We're always going to care about it. You can't switch that off. So yeah, excited to talk about it all.
It's difficult to switch off. I hadn't really I have looked at Tottenham stuff. Haven't watched or listened to anything since Arsenal because it just felt so downbeat on everything. And then today, listened to a podcast on the way into London, and it just made me feel a little bit worse. And then I thought, okay, let's go and have a chat and make ourselves feel even more happier. But we have got some news. Obviously, most of it isn't the best, but let's go over what we have got. The Champions League draw was done today. See, we've been drawn against Atletico Madrid of Spain in the UEFA Champions League round of 16. We'll travel to Madrid to face Atletico in the week commencing a 11th or 10th of March as the first leg. It's a two-legged affair, obviously the second leg being crucially at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium the following week. It will either be the 17th or 18th of March. Understand as well that the fixture will be priced at Category C, which is actually quite good news actually, because it's a little bit cheaper than normal. Lads, just looking at the draw, Cal, just start with you. It's always going to be Atletico Madrid, wasn't it? Because I've been calling for Ademola Lookman to join the football club for about what feels like 2 years, and I knew as soon as there was a possibility that we might face him, hello to the man in the pink jumper behind Phil, it was always going to be Ademola Lookman. And
yeah, no, definitely. He's also okay. Phil is now an exhibitionist in Germany, but
we see more viewers. Three.
Oh,
three
no,
we've
got a full house now. We've got a full house now. Oh, but yeah, it had to be someone who we've been linked with, spoken to, been offered 24 million times, and turns out that he didn't come to us. But I think that it kind of always had it that we was going to get a tough draw, didn't it? We don't get nice things. I would have liked to have had Galatasaray for it, but realistically, I think even they gave Joseph's Juventus a good old game across 2 legs, realistically. So I think no draw's easy in the Champions League, is it? But it just had to be that this could be the game that earns Simeone his lifelong contract at Atletico now, because he'll get to turn over Spurs. Never an easy day for us, is it?
No. Phil, would you have rather have had Galatasaray or Atletico Madrid? Because I thought Galatasaray looked quite tasty, to be fair, and they're a difficult place to go to as well. But what was your initial thoughts on the draw?
I think either club's a difficult tie at the moment anyways, right? Regardless of who we're playing, we might as well play, in some respects, someone like Real Madrid. To be honest, I don't think it makes that much difference right now. But on reflection, like I would have said originally, Galatasaray is probably the easier tie to get through 2 legs. Having said that, going away there is incredibly tough, and it's also not the easiest away trip as well. Probably, for the players or even for a lot of our fans, going over to Istanbul. I think Atletico, on reflection, over 2 legs is actually potentially maybe even better for us. Like, maybe a bit more winnable. It's going to be incredibly tough. They've got Lookman now, who's on form. Playing against the Diego Simeone team at the best of times isn't easy. Hopefully Conor Gallagher's got a bit of inside info. Bear in mind he only joined from there a couple of weeks back. But it's going to be tough. They're a better team than what we are. But then most teams are a better team than what we are at the moment. And we can only hope that, that it's a bit of a bright spot, isn't it? Still in a season of pain, same as last season, really, right? We had the Europa League run. I don't think anyone's expecting much from the remaining Champions League campaign, really. But the benefit and the motivation is if we get through that game, we could, potentially play, in Norway again. In the semi-finals, in the quarterfinals, of course. Obviously, Barcelona, Newcastle is going to be a difficult.
Tasty one.
That's a tasty one. But look, I'll be honest. I'm not expecting much from the Champions League. It'll be exciting. We'll get excited about it, right? As always. It could be the last time, it will be the last time that we're going to be in the Champions League, probably realistically for a while. So let's make the most of it.
I think it probably will be. I think it might be a while before we get back to the Champions League. I think it might be a while before we kind of get back into Europe. I still think if we could pick up a good chunk of points to the remainder of the season, we could get in the Conference League. You just never know. But it is if we get through, big if, then it's Barcelona or Newcastle, which again is a big if. It's going to be Arsenal in the semi-finals because look at that Arsenal draw, Leverkusen and either Sporting Lisbon or Bodo Glimt. But
they've got lucky, haven't they? Really, again,
they got a good draw, haven't they?
To be fair, though, Bodo are being trained by that ex-special forces soldier, aren't they, at the moment, for conditioning? I mean, the pictures that we've seen of him with an assault rifle are pretty mean, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I mean, they are a decent side. That's a hard place to go to. You know, not everybody can go there and pick up a victory when it really matters in European competition either. But, you know, just some clubs are able to do so when it really matters, you know. But Joseph, just your thoughts on the Champions League draw, the left-hand side of how you're watching this. I mean, some of the games on there are pretty tasty, really. You got Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea, Galatasaray, Liverpool, Madrid, City, and Atalanta, Bayern Munich. Atalanta were excellent, by the way, on Tuesday night.
Yeah, I mean that left side looks scary. You know, some of the teams on that left side, you know, I think you could say we've got the easier kind of bracket on our side if we were to beat Atletico Madrid. You know, one thing, we haven't played Atletico Madrid in modern day football, so we don't have any kind of past results to go off of. This is going to be a brand new kind of game for Tottenham to try and navigate, and I'm quite excited for it. I mean, part of me, you know, I'm kind of, as much as obviously I was disappointed to see Juve not go through, I was a little bit kind of like, thank God that Juve and Tottenham don't play against each other, because I knew it was going to end in arguments with me and my partner. So I was like, I'm kind of glad that Juve aren't through, because it would have, you know, if we ended up playing them, it could have been an absolute mess for me. But no, I mean, I'm quite excited to see us play Atletico Madrid, to be honest. I personally would have rather seen us play Atletico Madrid than Galatasaray, just because it's an unknown. And you know what? Like Phil said, it's probably going to be a while until we're in the Champions League again. So I'd rather go and see us go and beat teams that we don't face many times and we don't get to play a lot, and see if we can try and beat them. There's no expectation for me, you know, going into the rest of this Champions League campaign. I expect us to lose pretty comfortably to Atletico Madrid, but you never know. You never know what we can do. I mean, we've been good in Europe so far this season. I think our team is set up for European football much better than it is for Premier League football. I think European football is a lot more technical. It's nowhere near as physical. And I think the Premier League is where we're struggling the most. Thing that's really frustrating is we need to do well in the Premier League, and we can kind of bin off the Champions League knowing that the most important thing is staying in the Premier League and not getting relegated. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I think there's a lot of good ties in there as well. I think the only thing coming out of it is just looking at that Arsenal path to the final. It looks simple for them, in my opinion. Like, I don't think they'll have too many issues against Leverkusen. As much as I think Bodo Glimt look really good, and I could see them beating Sporting, even if they do, I think Arsenal will be that step too far for them. And then I think Arsenal are better than Barcelona or Newcastle or Atletico Madrid, or definitely us. So I could see them very easily getting to a Champions League final, which would be quite disappointing. But yeah, other than that, you know, I think it's exciting for Tottenham to play Atletico Madrid. I
agree. It's nice to play in the Champions League, obviously, but I think that our Premier League, I don't know, it's sound horrible, survival is more important. You know what I mean? Our survival is more important. I particularly think we could bin it off and just focus on that, but we have got 2 or 3 games, might be just 2 before then. So if we can pick up points in between then, and we can get back-to-back victories, it might be okay.
It's a return to the scene of the Champions League final, isn't it? It's the last time we played in that stadium, so it can only get better luck-wise, probably. But I think for our away fans, it's always nice to go to Madrid, right? Madrid's a really good away, a great city to visit, right? But it'll be a really, really nice little away trip, that one as well, and playing that big stadium. So, you know, let's just try our best. And I for what it's worth, I think we have a chance. I think we have a chance in that big game, because we know it's a one-off, and you know, a Diego Simeone side they're going to be very tough to play against. But I think the way that we're at the moment, it will suit us quite well. So who knows? Let's see.
I'd like to think we've got a chance. I feel like at the moment where I keep getting the optimism of saying, look, we're going to be all right against the X team. We're going to be all right against this. We're going to be okay. And at the minute, it isn't okay. I'm starting to lose that. I guess optimism is the right word for it. I am very concerned about our Premier League survival. And then we're looking at Champions League. It's like, I don't think we need the distraction of a Champions League right now. But again, it is nice to be in it. There is some great ties. You could potentially have a Paris, I don't know, Man City semi-final and a Barcelona Arsenal semi-final. I mean, that would be quite special.
Wait, so is the semi? Is it not like planned out then? So it's not that we will definitely play Barcelona or Newcastle if we.
Yeah. So we play the winner of Newcastle and Barcelona in the quarterfinal.
Okay.
And then we would play the winner of the section just below that. So in a theory, I mean, for someone that has followed Barcelona since I was a boy, you could have Pep Guardiola's Man City against Barcelona in a final. That would be that'd be pretty spectacular.
I'd love to see if we get through against Atletico Madrid and I'd love to see us play against Barca. Again, I wouldn't have any expectation on it, but it'll just be that's the point. That's kind of the magic for us playing in the Champions League. You get to finally see some of these quality players up front, in front of you. I remember, a couple of years ago when we were at Wembley, I went to go see us play when we played at home to Barcelona. I think we lost 4-2, 5-2 or something. It was a weird scoreline. But I remember after the game, usually after a loss, you're walking back through, and especially with Wembley, it's so tough to get out of. Usually everyone's really kind of down, negative, but everyone was upbeat and happy because we'd just seen Messi and Suarez absolutely tear us apart. And it was just, you saw absolute quality, and you don't get to see that in some Premier League games, but you were just seeing absolute world-class players. And that's what can be kind of special about the Champions League. So if we got through and played against Barcelona, I think people would be going there to watch Barcelona play, not to go see Tottenham play.
The critical aspect of this as well is that our European form is absolutely fantastic at home, isn't it? We are unbeaten in something like, 18, 19, 20 games at home now. And the second leg of this is at home. So that's quite a critical thing.
Is there a quick question, to the panel maybe, but is there a caveat or a plus point out if we go further in the Champions League and we would let's say, for example, we would play a Barcelona or something. Could it be that maybe some of the youth finally get a chance?
No, it's just this. It's just money, isn't it? This is all we get. We just get more money.
I mean, one of the only bonuses I'd probably see is that obviously we might have some players back by then, realistically. So we may have some more seniors back for what's the first leg, like the 10th of March, is it, or something?
10th of March, and then the 18th. We play on the Tuesday.
10th or 11th or the 17th.
I think it's been decided that we're playing on the 10th, and then we're playing on the 18th.
So we could have some players back by then. I know we've covered Porro and Danso back this weekend, but we may have one or two more back by then. So probably doesn't help your point, Phil, that maybe the youngsters we'll lose youngsters in the squad, if anything. But realistically, we could have at least some players back to compete. But I mean, it could be our luck that we'd say, it could be a Spurs Barcelona game or something like that. It'd end up being a Spurs Bodo Glimt semi-final, something like that again, and everyone would go, Spurs have had the easiest run to Champions League.
Yeah.
It would just
it'll be such a Spurs thing that we're having absolutely terrible Premier League, and then get to the final of the Champions League. That is just everything that this club is about. I mean, honestly, looking at the draw,
it's not impossible.
It's not impossible that we could get to the semi-finals. I mean, it's not
the one thing I know this is very off topic, but obviously, I think Bodo Glimt and what they've done is so impressive, and how they're doing what they're doing. I'm really interested in what that manager, how will he do outside of Norway? Because this is the thing, it's not like Bodo Glimt have this talented, really talented squad. Pretty much their whole team is Norwegians that haven't really gone and done it in other leagues and are doing it in Norway. It's crazy how well they're doing. I don't know what it's down to.
it's the away games that are impressive for me, because when they
Yeah.
play at home up there, you know, in the cold or like, you know, on a
It's the
plastic
football they
pitch or
play as
whatever.
well.
But you know,
We-
they're beating all
We
these
played
teams
them
away.
Yeah,
we played
did,
them
yeah.
last year,
Yeah.
didn't we? And
We played them
I
this
mean,
We
year.
beat them.
We
Yeah.
drew with them, didn't we? This
I
year.
did make
we
it
got
pretty
battered.
obvious earlier when I was saying not everybody can go to Bodo Glimt and get a result. I mean, I couldn't have spelt it any more for you, Cal.
But we drew
I know
with
you've
them
been
this
egged
year,
today,
didn't we?
but come on.
Yeah, I was more focused on trying not to end up in hospital today. So, I mean, I'm not paying attention to you every day, Gary. I know we're mates, but
Well,
Jesus.
I
that's a
said
bit
it about
far.
20. I've said it 5 minutes ago. We've only been going for 20 minutes of 45 seconds. Come on, son. Come
slow
on. No, but
day,
look,
mate. Been a long
They
week.
have been very, very impressive in what they're doing. They are very similar. They've made so much money from going into the Champions League that they can dominate their league now, and they can just buy up any form of half decent Norwegian player within their league and stockpile. You know, like I don't know, maybe like Celtic and Rangers can do in Scotland. And they have the ability to do that now, and fair play to them. I mean, what they are doing.
You look at what Celtic and Rangers do in Europe. They get outclassed. You know, I mean, Celtic just got beat 4-1 by Stuttgart, and Stuttgart are a solid German side, but they're not the top German side. You know, and they go out. But the fact that they are just, and the football they play is beautiful to watch. Watching a Bodo Glimt game, it's impressive to see how good they play football. I'm interested to see what happens to that manager. I don't know if he'll leave Norway at any time soon. What's his name? Knutsen, I think it is. But
Knutsen,
Yeah, Knutsen,
I think it would be really interesting. Let's say I'm not saying that Tottenham would do this. I think Pochettino is kind of the manager. But let's say for some reason they couldn't get him. I think they should look at this guy, because the football he plays is really entertaining. He probably would come to Tottenham and crash and burn, but I don't know. I just like what I'm seeing from him. From doing so well with what he's got available to him, it's just quite impressive. I'm interested to know more about it.
It was quite funny when they obviously beat City earlier in the year. They did like a metric where it said City's team worth 450 to 500 million pounds, and Bodo Glimt's team worth less than 40 million pounds, and that was including most of their stadium as well, and the whole of Bodo in itself. So it just shows that underdog stories are what we love and cherish about football, isn't it? As well, it's what we all fell in love with, realistically, isn't it? Seeing all that.
You got to love an underdog story, and hopefully, like you say, Cal, we will get some injuries and some players back. But someone that's been talking about injuries is Scott Munn. It's not the greatest photo, unfortunately, but we do deal with what we can. He has been speaking.
Up his arse.
He has been speaking. He said, we did a review into every department, the academies, medicines, everything. So yes, that happened. We wanted to come through with a number of changes to take the medical department to a level that equated to a big club in England. Unfortunately, we couldn't make the changes we recommended. Some parts were accepted, other parts weren't. That wasn't the outcome that they wanted. Scott Munn talking today over a number of topics. Cal, just coming to you on the injury front. Obviously, he's talking about last season under Ange Postecoglou that he's continued a good relationship with as well. But that injury crisis issue has continued into this season as well.
Yeah, it seems to be the running theme for us the last 24 months, realistically, maybe even longer, with this injury department. We've got rid of Jeff Scott. We've got rid of so many department heads, sports scientists, physios. I don't disagree with what he's saying, but I think that the problem was there throughout his whole tenure as well. So it can't show that any changes that he implemented have necessarily been effective, realistically. And maybe Spurs are that far behind in our sort of implementation of medical and sports science, because what's it been since before even Ange came in? We've had lots and lots of injuries. So it is something that should be taken very seriously by the club and by us as fans, because it's what has slaughtered our squads. We've already been threadbare because we know we've been let down a lot of times by having players not moved on and different bits like that. When our key starters are out, this all comes, a lot of it, from medical returns of players and then having long-term injuries. I mean, Kulusevski and Maddison being out now, it feels like we've got Eric Lamela back, doesn't it, realistically, with the amount of injury time that he's spent out. So it's not a good interview. It's not, especially on that part alone.
Yeah, we've just signed the guy from Man City. His name has left my brain. Not Rafi, the other one.
Oh, that's the analyst guy, isn't it? Who's going to be working?
He's going to be in charge of a lot of the medical stuff. I can't think of his name now. Hansen, something. I can't remember.
Henson or Orenson, something like that.
It's gone out of my head, but he's meant to be now coming in to. He started earlier this month, at the beginning of February. He's meant to have come in to oversee a number of things within the medical department in and around sports science, etc. So hopefully that he'll bring in some, I guess, expertise of what happened at Man City and try and now implement that as well. So hopefully those things work, because we are in a dire strait at the moment with injuries.
Did you guys see that quite a few of our, foreign players, let's say, right, have kind of returned back to their old doctors, like after already being injured and kind of being in recuperation? I saw that Xavi, I think, no, not Xavi, sorry, Kudus, I think, was the last one, right? He's been
gone
spending
back to
time in
Ajax.
Amsterdam. Yeah, like with his old, or with the doctor there who treated his was it hamstring? I can't remember what he's got, but like he knew him from the past. But I know that there's been some other players recently in the last 2 years that have also, gone abroad back to either where they're from or from the last league they're in, right? But that was only after spending X amount of time being injured and not really recuperating, maybe. So I don't know if that's also just a bad sign about
it was very public.
It
was very public with Romero, wasn't it? He very famously kind of went back to Argentina to go get his kind of injuries sorted out. But it's damning on the club, the fact that these players are. I mean, maybe part of it is because they have experience with them. Those doctors know their bodies a bit better and things like that. But it's just the fact that your own club should be able to sort it out. It shouldn't have to be that you need to go to, these specialist doctors outside of the club. The club should be able to find those people for you. So, yeah, it's, it just shows like the absolute mess that Tottenham are in.
The only other caveat to that is they might be more comfortable with those because it's a long-term doctor or physio or somebody that they've worked with in the past. Like Messi, for instance, when he moved into Miami, and I think when he was at PSG, he actually had one of the Barcelona medical staff actually left and went with him because there was just such a long-term relationship there that he obviously looked after him. It may just be that Kudus is brought up in Ajax. He understands and knows everybody there, so felt comfortable going. Argentina for Romero might be the same thing. I know that we've lent out our medical facilities for other people before. I don't know, it makes me laugh thinking about it, but we have. I guess it's maybe just that there's a previous relationship.
The thing is, though, as well, that it's not uncommon for clubs, like you say, with what Messi did with taking his medical staff from Barcelona with him. It may be because we obviously only see what is reported and what we see on social media, everything like that. It could be that the club have actually said to them, go and do this abroad and sort it out. It could be different to that, but we have done it in the past. We've seen Dele Alli when he got injured previously. He went out to Dubai, I believe, for medical specialists out there. So it's not uncommon, and we only see what happens at Spurs. It could happen to lots of other players, couldn't it, at different clubs? It's just that it just compounds how we do view an already negative situation at Spurs, realistically.
Like you say, it's probably just a specialist in that area. Ajax, for instance, or Argentina might be specialised in that particular injury as opposed to what Tottenham's doing. And we think, okay, let's get him out there. So I don't think I'm going to read too much into that. But that guy's Henson, I can't. It's really annoying me now. He's meant to be coming in. I'm going to find it out before the end of this stream. He's meant to be coming in to oversee a lot of this stuff as well. So let's hope that some of the appointments that are being made help. But Scott Munn did continue with his discussion with Australian TV or media. He was talking with Frank struggling to improve Tottenham after Postecoglou's departure. Munn pointed towards the culture around the club compared to his previous job at the City Group. He is quoted as saying, history shows it has been 17 managers in 20 years or something. For me, it's about action along with results. If you are with a club and you don't win anything, that's a pretty important measure. I remember a CFG board meeting and we, Man City, had finished second in the Premier League that year. The chairman started the meeting by saying that this wasn't acceptable and installed it in everything we did at the club. I didn't have the same feeling at Spurs at that level. The margin for error is so small that culture and mentality can be different between 3 points on a Saturday. Joseph, just coming to you on those quotes from Scott Munn on the culture at Tottenham, because I seem to hear this quite a lot now. The culture mentality at our football club isn't well regarded by a number of ex-Tottenham employees.
Yeah, it's really damning. And the thing is, I think we've heard it so many times from different places now that it's so loud. I don't know. We can't ignore it anymore. Like we got it from Conte, you know, the massive, the really big and publicized kind of rant that he went on after that Southampton game. And he did it multiple times before that game as well. It wasn't just that one game. He said things in previous press conferences that always hinted at this idea of kind of Tottenham not really, you know, wanting to push forward and wanting to get better. You know, we heard it from Mourinho. We heard moments with Postecoglou. Now we're hearing it from other members of staff that have been at Tottenham. And it shows where we're at. Now, I listened to a podcast earlier on The Lab, which was with Dan Kilpatrick from The Athletic. And he was talking about Antonio Conte's comments when we lost the game to Burnley. So obviously about three years ago, you know, we lost the game to Burnley. And he was basically talking about the idea that Tottenham could get dragged into a relegation battle in the future. He was basically mentioning that. Now, he kind of was saying about just the Premier League getting more competitive and how a team like Everton, who, when you looked at them and they were like, this team is very good, they shouldn't really be getting relegated, how they were going to get dragged into it. And he was kind of comparing Everton to Tottenham in that sense. And it's like, these people who are coming out and saying these things, they're not stupid. They're not coming out and saying it to be against the club. They're just saying it how it is. And the fact is, there's been moments where we do hear it and then we kind of forget about it and move on. But I think the fact is now, we truly need to see that these owners and the people in charge do not care about how Tottenham do on the pitch. They are not bothered about it. The only thing they'll care about is how that will impact their pockets. It's got nothing to do with needing to win or wanting to win. It's just to do with the financial revenue, what they can make and the commercial revenue from there. So it's really worrying that this is the state we're in. And I don't think it's ever going to change. The only way it will change is if we get new ownership in who will also care about, you know, winning on the pitch. You know, hearing that about how the Manchester City ownership thought it was unacceptable for them to finish second. Would ENIC or Levy ever have been unhappy with finishing second? They would have been completely content with that this whole time. If we finish second, that would be success. And that's not success. That isn't success. I think for every fan, finishing second means absolutely nothing. So yeah, it's just, this is the difference. This is where we're at and where our club's at compared to where the teams we want to be competing are at.
It is. It's one team, it's one club happy with commercial success and another club wanting sporting success. And we are obviously the former. Phil?
Do you remember the Daniel Levy story about the Champions League final, before the final, how he gave out the finalist watches before the game? Yeah. You know, Rollies, like Rolexes, you know, finalists before the game. You know, just that story alone kind of tells you everything about.
There's a quote
you know,
from Ange Postecoglou as well, wasn't there, on the overlap, where he talks about when they got to the Europa League final, and he sits down and speaks to Ange and says, "Oh, I've been to a few finals. We haven't really won any." And he was like, "What a weird thing to have said to me before I'm going into a cup final."
I just think the whole club from the top down has this mentality of there's no care, there's no true competitive feeling about we're here to win, we're here to be the best at football and to win football matches. It doesn't feel like there's any care about that truly, and that's the problem. You know, you're hearing other clubs and how desperate they are to win, and we just don't have that same feeling around the club. And you know, we're feeling it right now, especially because of how poor we're doing. But this has been something that's been here for years and years. It was here when Pochettino was here. As much as Pochettino had us feeling like we were unbeatable, we could go and do anything, the ownership was there, and it was still exactly the same then as it is now. It hasn't changed. I know we've seen, you know, Levy go, but the fact is people who come in aren't good enough and probably don't care anyway about the performances on the pitch either. So it's really horrible. It's horrible to sit here and know that the people who are in charge of the football club don't actually care about the football club. They don't care about how we play. And right now, all they care about is us staying up, because they realise how much money they'll lose if we get relegated. It's not about the fact that, oh, you know, Tottenham are playing bad, we want to play better football. No, it's about we're going to lose so much money if Tottenham get relegated. You know, that's what they're worried about. So I understand it is a business for them somewhat. But the fact is, there is other owners that, yes, they will try and make money. Of course they will. But they also care about performances and winning trophies and how that will create sustained financial revenue, not, you know, vice versa. So it's, very difficult. And again, I mean, I don't, you know, Scott Munn, he seems to kind of come in and was here for a little bit and disappeared, to be honest. So, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's right about everything he's going to say. But again, it's another person coming out and commenting on the ideologies and the philosophies around Tottenham. And every single person always says that there's a problem mentality issue at Tottenham. And, you know, it's not going to change. It doesn't sound like it's ever going to change until the ownership leaves.
No, absolutely. Phil, just coming to you. Scott Munn talked about that he enjoyed his time at Tottenham and a relationship with Ange Postecoglou. He said, "I learned a lot from him professionally and made amazing friends. I didn't know Ange previously or his staff. On the field, the key metrics were that they were fifth in the first season after finishing eighth the season before. The second year, we won the club's first trophy in 20 years and qualified for the Europa Champions League. On those measures, you'd say he'd done a pretty good job in trying circumstances. We all understand the Premier League performance wasn't good enough, but if we had to make a decision, what outcome was best for us, a higher Premier League finish or to put all our efforts in success in Europe? And we did that." I'm just thinking about Scott Munn's comments, or obviously adding into Ange's comments from the overlap. There seems to be that they're trying to build something within the club, but Daniel Levy and ENIC felt otherwise. Ultimately, Phil, what did you think of the comments that's come out from Scott Munn?
We've all liked to jump on Scott Munn's back, haven't we, and just call him inept and, you know, not having much influence in his time. You know, I've been very guilty of that as well, and I know people, when they leave clubs and stuff, often they might feel a bit bitter as well if they haven't been there that long. To be honest, in this case, you know, if you look back, Scott Munn probably is a pretty credible person, right? If you look at his career and what he's done, you know, he worked in the City Group for several years. I think he worked for Sport Australia before that in a kind of high role, like responsible for performance and then kind of more administration topics. But he was obviously hired at some shape or form because he's got a credibility level. And I think the more we hear from these people and the more we now know, obviously, that Levy's gone, it does make us realise that what is possible to build under this regime, you know, under this ownership. Is it possible to even change culture, to build teams, to create continuity, to get consistent answers from the leadership or from the ownership, to actually get committed budgets out of the ownership, to actually get, statements from the ownership which are followed through on. So actions speak louder than words. So I think there is a bit of an element, like I thought that Scott and Ange actually knew each other before that. So I didn't realize that they didn't know each other. I thought that, Scott kind of brought Ange in or vice versa or whatever, but there is a tiny bit of an element where I think that they are kind of just being a bit media narrative. It's very easy now just to jump on, this kind of anti-Spurs kind of thing. But the facts are playing out on the pitch, aren't they? And then the numbers.
Yeah.
There was that report released earlier today with our 150 million loss. Those numbers are quite vastly inflated, I think. Since then, there's a few experts, kind of financial experts, isn't there, on our WhatsApp groups, etc. And, some economical kind of pundits have also commented it, saying that, it's clever accounting. We're not as bad as that. But there is truth, to the fact that we are not making money, or that a lot of topics aren't going right at the moment. We've lost revenue as well. And I think that, Scott is basically just repeating or giving us even more signs that it's just very difficult to work in this chaotic club, both within the playing side, like the day-to-day stuff, but in his case, probably then more in the operational, more, I say day-to-day, but more week-to-week, month-to-month reporting. Like it just sounds like we are an utter pile of mess from the top to the bottom, and there's nothing you can say against it, right? Because we're only going to hear more stories like this coming out. We're only going to hear more examples of things that happened in the past. We haven't even heard half of the Daniel Levy stuff that's happened over the last 20 years. Either
we haven't heard
individual
anything from him really either, have we, since he left? I'm assuming he'd probably be under an NDA. We haven't heard anything from Thomas Frank. He's not even released a statement at all talking about leaving the football club. Not one statement has come from him.
Joseph said it already, Carol said it, you've said it, Gary, other pods are saying it. We've said it on our pod so many times before. We can talk about hiring Poch back next season. We can talk about actually finally, either binning off Johan or, putting him into a different youth role and getting that proper, director of football or sporting director in. But that's not going to change anything. That's the problem we have at the moment, and a change of ownership is the only way that we're going to be able to rebuild, Tottenham Hotspur and probably get back to where we should be. Looking at our fan base and looking now, the fact that we've actually got a shiny new stadium and still selling it out, like we deserve so much more, but nothing's going to change. And that's my biggest worry at the end of the day.
Something that might surprise you or might not. If we did go down and we were in the Championship next season, our commercial revenue, what we make a year, is more than any other budget in the Championship, just from what we make commercially. Now that is huge because of what that stadium does. Equally, what is damning and very, very worrying is the amount of money it costs us to run our facilities in terms of our training ground and the stadium. That is of such value that the losses that happens in the EFL, we'd be able to have 15 million a year loss in the Championship. We couldn't operate. We physically can't operate with that. So not only are we shitting ourselves as fans, the ownership definitely are from people that have spoke to us, as well as I guarantee you the EFL are starting to as well in the Championship, because they're going to go, hold on a minute, we've got quote unquote this juggernaut of a facility operator coming down here, and their losses are going to be astronomical if they don't get out of our division in one season.
I mean, it's the thing is though, I'm really hoping that they believe this. The ownership has to know that they are the ones who fucked up. They're the reason that this is happening. They need to realize that, the fact that we might go down and what might happen is all off of the fact that they have refused to invest into the playing squad when they needed to. Like, it didn't take every single person on the planet could see that Tottenham needed signings in January. Anyone who knew anything about football could see the injury issues are a big problem. And the fact is, a lot of those players aren't going to be coming back until end of the season.
No.
We were in a poor position already in that moment where we weren't picking up results, we weren't playing great football, and things weren't looking positive. All you needed to do was get in a few bodies who had some kind of experience playing Premier League football, and they couldn't do that, and they refused to do that. And again, it really frustrated me when I heard what Johan Lange had to say about that, when he came out and said, well, we couldn't find players that would help in the short term or the long term, and the fact is we're going to have players back from injury eventually. Do they not understand the severity of the situation?
We need bodies.
Right now, I don't care if we have registration issues at the end of the year, because we might not be in the Premier League at the end of the year. So whatever you need to do in January, you do it for the survival of your club. The fact that they were so negligent to that, it just shows that they have no idea what they're doing. And you've got to hope that, I mean, again, we're all hoping that we survive for the sake of our football club. But the fact is, if we do, the club still need to realise that they messed up in January. They truly messed up. And that if we need to spend money on players, we need to sort out this wage structure. We need to sort out everything around the club and how we act towards getting the playing squad ready for football. Because the fact is, we should never have been in this situation. And we had a chance to rectify it somewhat in January, and they didn't do it. I can't believe they didn't do it. And it just shows how stupid the people at the top are, because there's no reason why we couldn't have got out of this situation so comfortably. We could have been out of it.
That falls pretty squarely on Vinay and Johan.
From what we think is that it depends what the Levy family said about money, though. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about that.
Well, that's the problem, though, isn't it? Like, none of us know what Joe Lewis's family and Tavistock or whatever, but none of us really truly know what they're about. And they've said again that they're going to increase the wage bill. They want to invest and everything else, right? But if you've got actions speak louder than words. But if you've got
Phil, let me come on to that. Phil, I've got a question for that. Is they want to increase the wage structure and essentially probably have to spend more money. And they're actively coming out and saying it. Vinay said it in the programme before West Ham. Johan Lange repeated it in the interview to all those people. They've been at the club since 2001, 25 years. Tell me one time, I'll let you have one shot at it, of any window where there is evidence of that ownership doing it. There is none. It's just words.
The last player we bought that probably had pretty high wages when we bought him, and he was a star in some shape or form, was Rafa van der Vaart, possibly, at that moment, right? I can't remember us signing another player, who probably would have been at that wage level as well in that time. And, even players before that, right, in the Martin Jol era, Dimitar Berbatov, players of that ilk, we signed them, we were their second club, right? So we got them on good wages before they went to a United or obviously in Gareth Bale and stuff. So they've never done that before. And the problem that we have we were an investment vehicle, weren't we? We always were. That's what ENIC stands for, right? When they invested in us, they bought us. They had stakes in, was it Rangers at the time? I'm pretty sure they had a stake in Rangers. They had a stake in a Greek club.
Yeah, they'd already been run out of Greece by that point as well. So that's the thing. So realistically, we like that. But going on your point, Phil, just about, and Gary's with the transfer windows, the only window we thought maybe we might have pushed it out, the amount of money we spent, was realistically the one after the Champions League final. But it's the timings of signings as well. It's 2 on the last day. So we got Sessegnon and Lo Celso. Yeah, Lo Celso and Sessegnon, one on loan and one had been out injured for 3 months previously to that. So it's just all the stuff around it is wrong as well. It's not just about what we're paying, it's about the structure of transfers, the type of profile of transfers, the timings of transfers. It's
I mean,
questionable
we are crying
at
out.
minimum.
We are crying out in January for a progressive midfielder, someone to move the ball into the final third. And no disrespect to him, because I think he's a great player. We go and buy Conor Gallagher, who's exactly the same as
every other 8 in our bloody squad.
Bentancur. It just baffles me that they are sitting there. I mean, what are they even watching?
I'm not convinced they know about football. I'm not convinced they know what
they don't.
Anything to do with
we
football.
were on Diehards before, and they were talking about actually what the directors, what their speciality is, and one of them's an aviation guy. Just makes planes. I'll go to him if I want to make a plane when I win the lottery tonight, but I'm not going to go to you about football. I would absolutely love to sit down and speak to any of them about football. They might surprise me. They might absolutely blow me away with knowledge. But I'm pretty confident people in here, and there's 200 people watching at the moment, and there are 4 people here, we probably know more.
Well, it's all right. They've got a private jet to get them to negotiations. Don't mean the negotiations are going to go well, but they've got a plane.
Yeah, it worries me. But looking ahead, Go on.
So can I just say one more thing? The worst thing is though, is that in the summer, after we kind of like scammed in some ways getting back into the Champions League, because like we hoped that we would win the Europa League, didn't we? But probably no one really expected it, and the ownership wouldn't have budgeted for us to get into the Champions League. They wouldn't have done that. They would have probably assumed more that we're staying in. Well, we're not going to play Europe, right? You'd probably go on the worst case scenario. But that was the absolute perfect opportunity, new manager, or if they'd stuck with the old manager, even if that was the case, go and spend that 200 million. You're in the Champions League. You've got lucky in some ways. Now you can rebuild the squad. Do it now. Get those signings in early. Get Eze done early. Get Morgan Gibbs-White done early. Get those other players in. And they could have done similar in January, though. That's the point. They could have still done it in January. And they didn't. They didn't even get close to it. They sold Brennan on the first day of the window. Didn't replace him. Why?
This is the other thing.
It's just to quickly comment.
Doesn't make sense.
I'm assuming this is Adrian from Die Hard. He's saying the media are the ones saying Spurs are going to increase wages and heavily. It's actually not, because it's actually in the programme from Vinay himself.
The club has come out and said it.
The club has said it. And then in Joanne Lang's comments that he made, what was it, a week ago, where he sat down with all the journalists, he also reiterated and said, well, Vinay has said we're going to increase this, so I will double confirm that and back that up, so that is the case, that they're looking to do this. But they're reportedly spending 200 grand a week on Conor Gallagher. And now, don't get me wrong, I think Conor Gallagher is a fantastic player. I think he is what we need, because I don't think Bentancur is the right player anymore. But we're crying out for someone to progress the ball badly.
Do you reckon, though, it could be doubling down on Championship wages? Could it be that we're saying that we'll pay the highest wages in the Championship?
Well, we're already paying that. We're already doing that now. We'll be topping that. But the thing is, if we do go down, we are going to have a massive fire sale. There is a lot of players that will have to leave the club anyway, because we will need to stockpile some money because of the losses. We won't be able to meet the what is the PSR, I guess, down in, I can't remember what it's called in the Championship, but we won't be able to meet it. We'll really struggle with it. And it's
the last thing I'd like to say, just on the because I know we'll move on. Just the one thing on this January window gone past, like the fact that obviously Vinay came out and said all of that in the program, saying that we wanted to spend money. And there's always this thing, and I'm pretty sure Johan Lang has said it, and everyone will always say how difficult January is. Money talks. This was an opportunity in January. As much as I understand it's not always easy, the fact is there is players who want to get into their World Cup squads that might not get into it in the current position they're in. If you are willing to pay the money that you say you are willing to pay, you could have got players over the line. There's no doubt in my mind. There was plenty of players, even players that didn't move, that could have come to Tottenham in this moment when we needed them the most, because we could have gone, we'll overpay by 5-10 million. Okay, we are overpaying, but look at the situation we're in. Look at where we're going. Look at the potential possibility of getting relegated. If you're saying that we're willing to break the wage structure and pay more and spend more money and try and compete, You could have done it this January and gone and bought players that we needed. You could have gone and bought somebody like, let's say we had somebody we lined up for in the summer. We're going, oh, we really want, I'm not saying this would ever happen, but let's say we just went, we really want Yildiz. We really want him for some reason. Like we really want him. We're going to try and get him. We could have gone and bid an extra 20 million. If Juventus were willing to sell him, we could have gone there and gone, look, we need him now. We need him. Yeah. We are willing to overpay. We will give you more money. We don't care. We need this player. Because this is how other teams act. This is what Manchester City just did. This is what Manchester City just did. They just did it. Yeah. They just did
Turkey last year. Turkey last summer. Or January.
But this is what I mean. City have just done that with Guehi. Like Guehi had the option to go to anyone he wanted in the summer. Manchester City just went, look, we want this guy before he goes to Liverpool. We will give you money right now and we will pay him good wages. And he goes, yeah, I'll do it. Because they were willing to do that. I think Palace, I mean, I do think they wanted to sell him somewhat, but I think they were comfortable enough, probably knowing if they could go and win the Conference League with Guehi there. But they couldn't refuse the money they were getting given because, and that's the same as so many teams. So yeah, it's kind of bullshit that we couldn't get players in January because 100% we could if we were willing to pay it. But we weren't, so it's
we paid extra. We paid a little bit extra on top of Gallagher, didn't we? The reports where we offered a better
deal. We need more than it, though, didn't we? We needed so much more than one.
Signing Gallagher wasn't a bad decision.
Like, no.
If you look at it, because it was a bit opportunistic. He brings some more leadership, that tenacity, right? He's a good player, but we needed that additional progressive player on top, and maybe one more. He was a good signing, not what we needed immediately, but he's a good signing for us. But we needed those 2 extra players, and there was no sign of them. We didn't even come close to signing. There was no rumours at the end, was there, that we were in negotiations? And normally you hear those things getting leaked or broken, right?
Yeah.
Nothing. So it almost looks like we just didn't, I don't want to say we didn't try it, but it just looks like we didn't even concretely get close.
I just think they're too arrogant.
Weird.
Ultimately, I think they're arrogant enough that they think that we were going to be okay. They didn't know that the following game Odegaard was going to be out with, for potentially the rest of the season, and then your captain was going to, throw another wobbly and get himself sent off for 4 games, and Danzo was going to hyperextend a toe, and all these things happening. It was neglect, really. But we do need to move on because we can't keep going over January. We have to look ahead at this weekend, but also looking into the summer because we will need a new manager at the football club. There's been further reports coming out today that Roberto De Zerbi would prefer a move to Tottenham over Manchester United, and that's according to Sky Sports News. Mauricio Pochettino has also broke his silence on the continued and ongoing links to the Tottenham job, with the US men's coach offering an potentially emotional return after the World Cup. He said, there are always rumours. I'm always linked to clubs, to Tottenham, just like that one when I was linked to Espanyol or other clubs. In the end, especially because of my past at those clubs, when things aren't going well, people tend to fall back on emotions and say, well, with Mauricio, we played good football, or whether it may be. But no, I'm focused on the World Cup, on the United States. My contract runs until after the World Cup. So after that, we'll see what might happen. Open to everything, right? So also, I heard, I don't know how true it potentially might be, but Oliver Glasner is someone that they've also considered as well. Just coming around to obviously all of you, Cal, we'll start with you. It does seem that Poch is trying to calm some noise headed into the World Cup, which is, I think, sensible given it is only 3 months away, and it seems to be more talk about him and Tottenham than him in the USA. And Roberto De Zerbi is sort of saying, hello over here, give me a 6 month contract so I can get a load of money, which potentially will end up happening because I think he's a time bomb waiting to go off. Mm-hmm. But they do seem the 2 top runners for this job in the summer.
Yeah, they seem to be the names that won't go away. Poch, we always know he's quite conserved with the way that he acts anyway, so he kind of always flirts with Spurs, but nothing else in terms of that. And realistically, it just stands to reason that he's still got a contract with the USA. So if he says, "Oh yeah, I'm going to Spurs," it doesn't bode well. Whereas Zerbi is out of contract, had his acrimonious end with Marseille, as he seems to do with all his clubs. So realistically, he probably will put his name out there, or his agents or team will. But he's a volatile individual that will burn bridges quicker than a wildfire, to be honest. And realistically, with our board, who are very much softies when it comes to doing anything and not prepared to do anything, he'll eat him alive. So
yeah,
it's a difficult one. But then we'll get names until going through. But we saw that silly link this week that Igor Tudor could be sacked after one game and all that as well by a very questionable burger flipping journalist who got one shout out and completely crashed after that. So it's all media speculation, and without an official announcement, it's all just hit and hope and see what happens.
Yeah, definitely. Joseph, just coming to you just on Igor Tudor. When you bring in an interim manager, you're bringing someone in for a bounce, aren't you? For an immediate bounce. Michael Carrick, for instance. If he doesn't get that immediate bounce, what do we do? Do we try and find somebody else that can, but while we've still got games? Because at the moment there's a quarter of the season left, so there's time. But if he doesn't get it, say against Fulham and Palace, and we don't get results against them, are we going to have to look for somebody else?
I don't know. It's tough. I mean, the thing is, like, when we've obviously seen a lot of teams be in this situation, but it's just we've never been in it ourselves. So I don't think we thought that deeply into it, where they're kind of going, we've got this manager in, we're hoping they're going to make a difference. They don't make a difference. And then they're like, well, maybe we're just screwed. And I feel like that's kind of where we'd be at. I don't see somebody else coming in and making a change. At that point, you've already said goodbye to Frank. You've now gone, okay, we're bringing in Igor Tudor to make a difference. We're not making a difference. I don't think the players are then going to get a bounce from somebody else. I just think that I just don't see it happening. So the fact is, Igor Tudor is experienced in this situation. So honestly, in terms of an interim basis, I don't think there's many managers that could have been a better fit for the situation Spurs are in right now. So I don't think you can do that. You've got to hope he can get something out of these players. It does worry me because, again, I watched him at Juve and there was a very, very poor start to this year where they were awful. They were really, really bad, Juve. There was a reason he was sacked, and it was rightfully so. And I don't think he's this magical manager. He's not great. I don't think he'll go on and be a big manager anywhere else. I don't think he's going to be a really successful manager anywhere else. So, but what we just need him to do is to get a little bit out of us now and just keep us up. And then again, I read one thing from, them saying that, he'll have the chance. If he does really well, he'll keep the job. I don't think there's a chance he keeps his job, no matter what happens. I don't think they're going to keep him involved. And I really hope they don't, because if they did, again, I think similar thing. He's going to blow up. Eventually he will. He's a hot-headed guy. And to be fair, I like that about him. I like that he's passionate and he cares. We didn't need another Thomas Frank. We didn't need this pragmatic person to come in and be like, oh yeah, we'll get out of this situation. No, we needed someone to go, this is real. This is where we're at. We need to fix up and we need to get out of it. So
in terms of Igor himself, just coming to you, Phil, before I let you go, so appreciate you do need to go. Igor Tudor has described Tottenham's situation as a case of life or death. He said, I need to be smart to understand the moment deeper and how to take the points, not looking to the style at this moment. The style needs to be in the second moment, because now it's a question of life and death. Do you think he's correct in those in that messaging?
He's not wrong, to be honest. I mean, it is life or death, isn't it? We're talking about, the worst event, practically in our history. Like, really, if we go down, it will be far worse than the 1970, was it 77, 78? Yeah, I mean, a million times worse than that, because relegation nowadays is a lot different to back then. Especially if you're a bigger club anyways, which we were at the time, it's much easier to come back up, especially in those days. Nowadays, it's different. It's life or death. He's right. And look, I mean, as Joseph said as well, if for me, it's Igor or nothing now. You know, he's here till the end of the season. There's no point like getting rid of him and replacing him with someone else, because if the players don't react to him or to getting a bounce or something, there's zero guarantee that they're going to react to anyone else coming in.
There isn't,
You
but
know,
surely that is the reason for being in a temporary manager, is to get that bounce. If he isn't getting it, surely we look at saying, right, we've still got 6 of these 12 games to go. We need a bounce. We need a reaction.
But do you think anyone's going to come in and get a bounce? That's what I'm thinking. Like if Tudor can't do it, I don't think anyone else is going to come in and do it.
Do we even have a squad that can bounce? That's my question. We haven't really got enough.
I don't think anyone's going to come in. If Tudor couldn't get the bounce, the fact is we've gone from one manager who was very calm and strategic and pragmatic to a manager who isn't in Tudor. If he can't get a bounce with the attitude he has, with how he treats things, who's going to come in and get a bounce? Are these players, if they can't get it from him, I don't think they're going to get it from anyone.
I'm just putting the questions out there to Phil. I'm with you, but I'm just trying to think of it in 2 ways, because Phil, we need a win against Fulham on Sunday desperately.
I mean, a win would be lovely, you know. But I think we need to get something out of the game. I think if we get a point against Fulham and don't lose, then that's a start. But then we need a win against Palace, you know. But we need to approach the Fulham game we need to see that a bit more intent, you know. We need to see errors being cut down. We need to see a bit more stability in the team. You know, Kevin Danzo's going to be back. Porro's going to be back. Hopefully that will have a boost. We need to just see a bit more, you know. And as I said, whether it's a win or a draw, fine. If we lose that game, we're in dire straits. Because you know, if we lose that game, the negativity that's going to come from that online, you know, in the community, from the media, looking at the table position. I'm not sure who West Ham are playing this weekend.
You're away at Liverpool.
Okay, yeah. Well, you know, fingers crossed that they don't get anything. But you know, the pressure will just ramp up, and then Palace is like an absolute must win. And you know, Brennan's going to score anyways. Then on you know, at the Lane in that game. So what do we do? Look, it's very difficult. I mean, the only thing I would say is that looking at the squad, and I mean, I mentioned it earlier. I don't like throwing youth players or stuff into like these kind of high stakes games and stuff, but if we don't get enough of a bounce out of the players that we have in our squad at the moment, is there anything to lose by blooding somebody's like talents in there, by giving Luca Williams-Barnett some opportunities? Because you know, Tyne and Thompson, you know,
my only caveat
Byfield anyway. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe at least they bring energy in. At least they bring a bit of innocence.
I get that. My worry is they are 3 17-year-olds. By Tyne and Thompson, I think might be 18. 2 17-year-olds and an 18-year-old that we are asking or expecting to come in. And I've had this thrown at me so many times on Twitter. We are essentially, Cal, expecting teenagers to come in and save this football club because the seniors are unable to. And then what could happen is they come in and they don't perform within the first 2 or 3 games, which is likely to happen, and then people are on them, and then that stumps their growth, and we've cost us league position. There is so much on the line right now. It is quite worrying.
Yeah, you're not wrong though, because realistically, me and you can say a lot more than most people on Spurs Twitter about these youth players, because we looked at Williams-Barnett last Friday when he was playing, and he came off on the 57th minute, and my God, his attitude stank and all that. He was acting like a petulant child, and these are people who we could have to put our faith in, and realistically, if they're not having great games for 21's games, which are probably the equivalent level of maybe League 2, League 1 at a push, we expect them to step up into some of the biggest games of our recent history to try and make something happen. I know we've had freaks of nature, Dele Alli, when he first on to see
Yeah,
in the
but the
Football
difference
League.
there,
But
Cal, he'd played 50 odd
played,
games for
yeah.
Milton
Yeah.
Keynes before he'd
Yeah.
even come in, and he just got promoted to the Championship.
yeah,
He was flying. And
Archie
Luke
Gray
was
as well.
clearly, Luca was clearly frustrated on Friday. I think it's because he'd just come back from injury and probably wanted to carry on playing. But my concern is we're going to throw in two 17-year-olds and 18-year-old expecting instant saviour and performances, and that's a big concern for me.
I'm not saying, by the way, that we should do that.
No, I'm saying I'm answering I'm answering a lot
I
of
know.
people that keep saying to me about this.
And I think the expectation probably isn't generally that they're going to come in and be world beaters. But my issue is, though, is that some of these players that we have at the moment, the seniors, they just look completely dead. And are they going to be able to like raise their game to an acceptable level? And that's the question. You know, even someone like Tell, number one, is he going to get game time? Number two, when he comes in, is he going to be able to bring that level straight away that we need? Is Xavi going to be able to, like, you know, bring the level that we need? Is Jed Spence, if he plays, is he going to improve because he hasn't been very good recently? You know, like,
yeah, he was poor at the weekend,
like,
wasn't
he? We have to continue to put our faith in these players and to trust that the players are going to raise their game together with Igor Tudor and his coaching staff supporting them, hopefully to rebuild their confidence, because that's what they have no confidence.
No,
they have no energy either. They're dead on the battery. Their batteries are dead. They've got no confidence. Can he do that? That's what he needs to do. The tactics at the moment, to be honest, how Igor Tudor wants to play, and whether he plays a 3 at the back or a 4 at the back or 1, I don't even think that's that important at the moment. It's about getting the players up a level, you know, and feeling a bit more confident they can actually pass the ball into areas, right, where they're going to be able to either create chances or they're going to be able to pass the ball out of danger when they're being pressed, and not give the ball away that they concede goals, which we have been doing. That, for me, is like more important than actually how Tudor gets the team set up. So from what he said before, life and death, football style is not so important. Got to agree with him, even though we'd like to see a bit more progressive football. But right now, we need elevated performances. And the big question is, can we do it?
We need a result. Cal, Phil, I'm going to let you both go so they need to log off. We'll be back with you both on Sunday. Me and Joseph probably stick around for the next 5 minutes or so just to finish what we're talking here. Phil, Cal, we'll see you on Sunday. Joseph, just coming back to you. Obviously, Igor Tudor was speaking about Spurs needing results, and he said, now, yes, there is not much time to think about performances or style, as we have alluded to. I think the clear messaging is there from him. Sorry, I've got something that's gone in my eye. Apologies. I think it gives clear, to the point replies in really anything that he's done so far being here. Not sure solely it's based because of the English being a bit of a barrier for him, or the way he is as a person, or maybe just a combination of both. It's very to the point, which I think that we need given the situation that we're obviously see ourselves in. Igor replies to Spurs needing the results as a catastrophic yes, and doesn't care about their style. That, for me, is really good messaging to us as fans. But I just hope that on the training ground, the messaging is coming across just as well, because we really need it.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked so far how Tudor has displayed himself in the press conferences. I understand he's been quite, brutal with his valuations, but I think that's what we need. I think, after every game with Frank, we were just hearing the same thing of, oh yeah, we're going to do everything we can to get out of this situation. Yeah. We're going to do everything we can. Well, now we've got somebody coming in going, this is bad. We need to sort it out. Not sugarcoating it, not saying, oh, we played well, but we couldn't get the result. No, we need to win games. We need to get points. We just need to do what we can to get to stay up. And that's what we've kind of wanted for a long time. We wanted a bit of transparency, not this kind of, just this noise, just this, what's the point of saying, oh, we tried to get a result? No, we need results. So I've liked how he's kind of presented himself so far. But yeah, you're right. Is he going to be able to get this across to the players? I mean, I've it's tough. It's tough to know how the players are and what they're like on the training ground, because right now I don't have a lot of belief in this style in these players. Sorry, because I don't feel like they have much belief in themselves. From everything you hear, from everything that comes out on social media, just every little thing that you're hearing about these players, I don't think they've got the attitude for this. I don't think they've got the energy for this. I don't know. I don't think they have the minerals for this relegation.
No, I agree with you, because you can look at a club. I'll bring up the league quickly. You can look at the clubs around the bottom, right? Wolves have been in and around this a number of times. Burnley are a bit of a yo-yo club at this point. West Ham have been in and around this traditionally as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they've had a few good seasons. Forest have been up and down. Leeds have been up and down. Those clubs, people were associated with it, maybe players, staff, they've been in and around it. And I feel that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I just don't see our players turning up ready for that fight. I can't see it.
And I think a lot of them clubs as well, I think they were going into the season ready for this. They were expecting this. They knew they were going to be in this situation. Maybe not Forest. Maybe that's the only team that maybe weren't too sure it was going to happen. But even then, there was still an opportunity to, because the season before last, they were there. They were there and thereabouts. You know, last year they had a really good season. Year before, they were close to relegation. You know, West Ham, they knew that their team has been declining. This was always going to be a possibility. Obviously, Leeds knew it. Coming up from the Championship, every team recently come up from the Championship has got immediately relegated. So they knew they were going to be in this situation, and they get into the business end of the season and they know what they're in for. This has been a shock to everybody around Tottenham. I know we finished 17th last year, but no one thought it was going to happen again. And the fact is, it's happening again, and it doesn't feel like the players are ready for it. I feel like a lot of them probably look at pointing fingers. Again, the facts, like Romero, how he talks, I understand he's frustrated. But right now, we need a leader to be on the pitch and to dictate this team and to get them, just get him through games and get him picking up points. And for me, he's not doing that. He's constantly complaining about this and that. And it's like, right now, just shut out the noise and focus on football. That's what we need. And I don't believe any of these players truly want that. The way that these players drop their heads as well. I mean, Jed Spence recently, every time you look at him, he's just always shaking his head. He's pissed off. He just doesn't seem like he really wants to do it. He doesn't want to be in this situation. And none of them do. But it's like, you've got to fight to get out of it. And I don't know if they have the minerals for it, which is worrying.
I find that adversity is really difficult for them. If they get anything negative in a game, if they start well, they're normally okay, but if they start not so well and go behind, they might try and get a bit of a comeback. Yeah. And the adversity really hampers. Burnley, for instance, we were flying in that first half. We were looking good, could have scored a number of goals. All right, it was Burnley at the time. Burnley score right at the half time, and that killed us for most of that second half. And then the adversity, they don't seem to be able to get through it. And it really comes back to this. A lot of these players have never been in and around this before. They've never had to be at this low down in the league and have to deal with the situation they're in and the injury crisis and the disconnect. And it's a really worrying time. But looking ahead at the fixtures this weekend, obviously just on the right of this picture, I'll show you the logos of the teams that they're playing. Wolves against Villa. We don't really need to worry about Wolves, and we don't need to worry about Burnley. West Ham are away at Liverpool. That's a difficult place to go. Hopefully, Liverpool will do us a favour. Nottingham Forest against Brighton. Brighton are a bit of a kind of a, don't know how to put it.
They've been very inconsistent.
Unpredictable.
Yeah.
Unpredictable, inconsistent. That could go either or way. Hopefully, Brighton get us a result. And then Leeds are playing Man City on, I think, Monday night. I think that's at Leeds. Again,
I think
Leeds
it even might be Saturday night. I'm not sure.
It might be Saturday night. So even then, it's quite a difficult place to go to in terms of going to Leeds. But City are chasing the league, so they need to get a result. And then obviously we're against 10th place Fulham. So the fixtures in and around us are actually quite favourable in a way. Like hopefully Forest, Brighton, we need Brighton to beat Forest. I think Liverpool probably have enough for West Ham. And then ultimately, hopefully, we can get some points as well. But we just have to win this. And because Tottenham are still still without a Premier League win in 2026. We are just approaching March. We haven't won a single game in the Premier League. As we're prepared to take on, obviously, Fulham on Sunday. Our form is currently the worst in the Premier League. We are bottom in form at the moment. This is a cup final for us. There's no two ways about it. We've lost our last 3 league games in all competitions. Fulham have won 2 and 1 defeat. So coming away from Man City as one of their losses, but they also picked up a really good win against Sunderland last weekend. They're not going to be an easy team to play against, but the only, I guess, caveat of that is Kevin is out injured and won't be playing. So that's the one player they've got out injured as opposed to 13, 14 that Tottenham have.
Yeah, I mean, we've just got to hope they can do something. I'm quite nervous for the game because I just think Fulham are a very competitive outfit. They don't seem to ever get rolled over by any team. They seem to always give it every team a game, no matter who it is. And again, I just think they have that professionalism around them right now, and I don't feel like Tottenham have that. So yeah, I'm worried about the game. We really need results, and I struggle to see who is going to get us the result, who is going to drag us through a game and get us a result. I don't think there's anyone on the pitch who will do that. And again, it all comes down to the attitude of the players and the want and the belief and what they care about. I don't think a lot of these players care about being at Tottenham, which is another thing. I think a lot of these players don't really care what Tottenham are. They don't care about the fan base. They don't care about what the club is. They're just there.
Ultimately, they're going to get a move, aren't they? They're going to get a move anyway. And
that would be interesting to see. I mean, we always talk about transfers and stuff like that. And a player that I would absolutely love in Tottenham's midfield is Alex Scott from Bournemouth, because he's a Tottenham fan and he's a great player. But it's also a player that he knows what it means to be Tottenham, and he would fight every game playing for this team. And so that'd be interesting. But yeah, it's going to be a tough game, but we have got enough to beat them. 100% we do. It's just whether these players go out and perform. So
for me, we need the attacking players. We need some attacking players on the pitch. We need Solanke and either Tell and Kolo together up top, and with Xavi behind, and then a 2 workers behind them. We just have to. We need more balance in it. For me, team-wise, obviously would be Vicario and goal. Of the right back 3, I'd have Spence. Of the left back 3, I'd have Van de Ven. In the centre of that, I'd have Danzo. Left wing back, I'd have Souza. Right wing back would be Pedro Porro. I'd then have Polinia and Gallagher in the middle. Just advance of them is Xavi. And then advance of him, I would have Kolo Muani and Dominic Solanke. That is a good, balanced team. That right-hand side is very strong then, because of Porro can get up and down, and then you've got the defensiveness of Spence, and we need some attacking players on there and some workers. But just before we do call it a night, Pedro Porro and Kevin Danzo are both reportedly to be back fit for the game on Sunday. We will be back on Sunday immediately following the game. I think we're coming on at 4, which is pretty much straight after the game. Come on for an hour. Please do come and join us. There is just under 300 of you watching, so do appreciate you checking us out on a Friday night. We didn't really advertise it, only a quick, we're going to go live, because Callum wanted to put a podcast together. So we thought, let's have a little chat about all things Tottenham. So we haven't really much this week. So again, thanks to the near 300 of you watching. If you didn't mind going over to YouTube, giving us a subscribe over there. We're on our way to 500 subscribers over there, which is great. And then obviously do follow Joseph over on Twitter, JosephTHFC, and me at Gary R. Ward. And until Sunday, let's hope we come on here with big, big smiles and 3 points. But until then, obviously, and always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.